This is Reality Dispatch, written by Jim Mintz.
Angelo found it amongst the hubcaps that fell off the old station wagons, serrated along the blade that flicked with the ease of the wrist. "Jesus, take a look at this thing," he yelled out for Blake. His best friend came over away from the bus shelter where Shab and Danielle sat waiting for the afternoon school bus. It was late and the country roads were quiet. "The girl's not coming?" Angelo asked. "Negative," said Blake. He reached out his hand for Angelo to hand over the blade. "Hold up, will you? I just found this thing." Angelo swung his wrist in various directions as the butterfly blade moved back and forth, exposing itself to the elements. He was having fun with it, swinging wildly in the direction of Blake's chest. "Watch it," Blake yelled. "Relax," Angelo said, feigning confidence. "What's that black stuff on the blade?" Blake asked. Angelo swung the knife into position to expose the blade. The two boys looked up and down the tip. Angelo ran a thumb along the steel and yelled out as the sharpness sliced open his skin. "God damn it," he yelled. "You idiot," cried Blake, laughing as Angelo used his school-emblazoned hoodie to stem the bleeding. "Your mom's gonna kill you. Tell me something I don't know," he said. "Shabila, you got a Band-Aid?" Angelo yelled to the girls sitting under the shelter. They looked back and shook their heads as they returned to Danielle's phone, watching TikTok videos at inescapable volume. "Yo, I think that's blood," Blake said as he looked down at the dark formations on the tip of the blade that Angelo was still holding in his left hand. "No shit." "No, I mean on the knife itself, check it out." Angelo looked over the knife and brought the blade up to his nose to smell. "It doesn't smell like blood," he said. "I ain't touching it again." Angelo flicked the knife into its closed position and placed it into his pocket. He used his left hand to strangle the thumb on his right inside the stomach of his school jumper. "My hand is killing me, goddamn," he said. "Maybe you sliced an artery," Blake said with a chuckle. "Maybe you should shut the hell up." The bus appeared on the horizon, and the sound of its diesel engine preceded the smell of its exhaust. The girls packed their phone away into Danielle's bag, and they stood in anticipation. "Come on, maybe the driver has a Band-Aid," Blake said. They walked away from the marshes and back towards the road when Angelo noticed more of the black, dried substance littering a patch of weeds that lined next to the road. "Look," he said, pointing downwards. "What's that look like to you?" he said. Blake wandered over to observe the buildup. They had missed it before, disguised amongst the blacktop of the tar road and the tall bundling of the weeds. "It's blood," Blake said. "A lot of it." The bus approached the stop and slowed for the girls who were already in position. The doors opened before the vehicle had shut down its engine. They stepped onto the passenger steps. Danielle led the way. "Yo, the bus is here," Angelo said, patting Blake on the shoulder. The younger one kept a low posture and continued to hunt for the end of the mystery. "Yo, Blake," Angelo yelled. "The bus is here." Blake did not move from his search. Angelo lobbed his backpack over his shoulder and ran towards the bus, just as the driver ignited the pistons into gear. The doors closed while he was still mounting the steps, and the bus rode off at a faster speed than at its arrival. Blake did not budge from his hunt. He was determined to find the source of the substance. His search took him further into the weeds that built up significantly just off the side of the road. It was dense, but there were no trees. He could continue to search and be able to look out in front of him, but the weeds reached just above his hips, stifling his footsteps. He continued his prowl through the weeds, step after step, until his foot clipped over a rock with a solid, manufactured element. Blake brushed aside the weeds that surrounded his legs and looked down to see another butterfly knife resting amongst the sounds of chirping crickets. It was covered in dark red blood. He bent down to pick it up and regretted the moment the instant his palm formed on the handle. It was not a slaughterhouse knife, a butcher's knife, a hunter's knife. This was a gangster's knife. At 13, he had seen enough movies with his older brother to know that only organized crime would carry with them such intimidating weaponry. The dried blood along the length of the handle made the find all the more ominous. All of a sudden, a picture emerged in his head, one painted from circumstance. A murder had taken place. Someone was stabbed to death. More than one murderer was involved, thanks to Angelo's finding. Here was the second weapon, and somewhere along these weeds and marshes, where the hubcaps flew off the cars that liked to speed along their way into the villages, was the body that had succumbed to the wounds inflicted by the knife-wielding criminals. Blake dropped the weapon and abandoned his search. He looked out on the horizon to where he stood, amongst the waist-high weeds. He looked to the quiet roads and wondered if the murderers might return, and if they should, would they choose him to be their next victim? He wished his parents had trusted him to own a phone at that moment. He felt alone, more alone than ever before. He didn't know when the next bus would come. Would there even be another school bus? He tiptoed through the weeds slowly and steady, careful not to disturb that which he no longer wished to see, in case it was nearby. He made it out of the weeds and over to the bus shelter, where he sat on the cold metal seat and fixated his eyes on the road ahead, praying for another bus to appear on the edge of the horizon. He could hear another car passing in the opposite direction, and he made a point not to turn his head and give them the satisfaction of knowing that he was indeed scared. He was scared to death.
For more stories of fact-based fiction, head to jimmins.substack.com.